Hello, it's not Scott Manley here, but this is Kerbal Space Program, and I am FerrariMan601. Greetings all. In a very recent live stream, I came up with the idea of trying to build a car in Kerbal Space Program and then launch it into space, much like Elon Musk is about to do with SpaceX. That might even be happening next week. We'll have to keep an eye on the press. However, I want to put a car in space before Elon Musk does. In that live stream that I'm referencing, and there'll be a link to that in the description of this video, I came up with a car that basically is loosely based on a current Formula One car. Tried to get it to run in a straight line. It was very difficult to get it to stay straight. It had some yaw problems going off to the left without any control input. Ended up crashing and burning. However, we tried to get that car into space, and I came up with a totally slapped together rudimentary core stage and solid rocket booster setup, kind of an idea similar to the Space Shuttle or Ariane 5. Didn't quite work out so well. Lots of pitch control issues. Good roll, good yaw, but pitch authority was terrible. So we've gone for a rethink. Rather than just sticking the car on top, I've decided to encase it in an absolutely cartoonishly large fairing, as you can see there. It's about twice the diameter of the main core stage of the rocket, and inside there is the car. Take a little bit of a closer look at the car. The road-going spec of this thing has a rear wing. We've taken it off here on the space version, but it's got an engine of its own. That is a KS-25 engine, very similar to the RS-25 engine that the Space Shuttle used. And then two fuel tanks here for side pods, wheels of course on all four corners, some batteries, a reaction wheel just for some SAS control, and then a front wing. Very nice. We've zeroed that out as well for aerodynamic purposes for flight. That's all inside this fairing. We have a core stage with these absolutely massive KS-25 mammoth engines there, mounted in a cluster of 4, and we have 4 outboard liquid boosters, which are basically clones of that core stage, burning those same KS-25 engines mounted in clusters of 4. Additionally, the boosters are cross-feeding propellant into the core stage, so when the boosters burn out, the core stage will still be more or less full. We have vernier engines on the outboard boosters as well as the core stage for a little bit more pitch and roll authority during ascent. And the car itself has some vernier engines on its fuel tanks, so we have some RCS control capability, although it is quite rudimentary. The car has that SAS module, as we mentioned, so it does have full control capabilities once it is on its own in space, but it's somewhat sluggish across all axes, but you'll see that in a moment. We could not get this car into space on our live stream, however, we are going to try that right now with our improved launch vehicle. To the launch pad. This is unmanned, I must say. No Kerbals will be harmed in the making of this video. However, we are going to get this thing into space. I'm promising you this. I'm not going to try to put it into orbit. I'm just going to fly a straight up and down ballistic trajectory just to prove that we can put a car into space before Elon Musk. Of course, he's going to actually do that, and this is a game, but you get the idea. Anyway, full throttle on all of our engines. At launch, the core stage and the boosters will fire simultaneously. The boosters will burn out first, leaving the core stage behind to continue the ascent. Stand by for launch. We've got full thrust applied. RCS is active. SAS is active. We are go. 3, 2, 1, ignition, liftoff. Some pitch rates on the SAS from our liftoff transient, but everything is stamping out nicely from the guidance. Going supersonic, you can see the shock waves building up along the surface of the vehicle. We're through Mach 1, expecting to see some shock heating now as we continue to accelerate at about 4G through the lower atmosphere. Here comes that shock heating now. Shock waves are starting to turn red. Passing through 15,000 meters, our speed just passing 1,000 meters per second. Accelerating at about 5.5, 6 Gs now, 1,200 meters per second. Our speed, altitude 25,000 meters. The boundary of space on Kerbal is 70,000 meters, so we're about 30,000 meters shy of where the Kármán line is on Earth. Boosters have burned out, separated the boosters. The core stage is still burning. 2,000 meters per second now. 60,000 meters altitude. We're accelerating at about 2.5, 3G. 70,000 meters crossed. We're now in space. We have accomplished our mission of putting this car into space, and we have shut down the engines, mostly because we have enough delta V still in this launch vehicle to achieve escape velocity, and I don't particularly want to do that because I want to conclude this video with some explosions. So, we're going to let this thing coast for a little while, and then we will show the re-entry and the inevitable crash. The car has no recovery systems on board. There are no parachutes. It doesn't have any wings capable of generating controllable lift, so we can't fly it like an aircraft. It's just going to crash and burn, as you shall see very shortly. But the rocket itself performed very nicely, no problems at all. You can see there are some fragments floating around the core stage right now. These are fragments of the fairings from the boosters. When they separated, the fairings also blew, and this is an aerodynamic dead zone behind this gigantic main fairing, so they just kind of tracked up with us. We'll apply some time acceleration. You can get a wonderful view of the big blue world of Kerbal as we continue to fly up. 500,000 meters. Still climbing. 650,000, 700,000. Yes, there it is. And we're just about to hit our apogee here. 720,000, 725, 730. Slowing down and just coming up to apogee right there. 733, 612, there or thereabout. And we begin our descent. So we will accelerate under gravity now. We're not going to fire the engines again. And we will just have a very fiery re-entry. What we will do before we come across entry interface, before we come back into the atmosphere, we will separate the launcher from the car. So the car will re-enter on its own. And our core stage engines here, the booster, will re-enter very close behind us. So you will get the chance to see multiple big explosions. We're going to do our best to maneuver to a roughly prograde attitude, so we're going to be facing the direction of travel now. 150,000 meters. We're coming down at over 2,000 meters per second, so roughly at the speed with which we left the atmosphere. We're now going to re-enter it. You remember that big ball of plasma from launch? Well, we're about to see more of that upon entry. We'll just go back to stability assist mode now. We don't need to be exactly prograde. We'll jettison the core stage. We'll blow the fairing. I like that sequence. It just completely obliterates itself. And then we will jettison the connector piece there. And now for the crash. We'll declutter down our HUD and we'll just watch the light show. Car breaking up due to the aerodynamic and G-force as that is experiencing here as we're coming down through the atmosphere. Not designed to deal with the stresses of re-entry, as you can see. However, it does mostly survive through entry, and now coming back down 500 meters per second. Still supersonic. Now we've gone subsonic, 3,000 meters altitude. I do believe the booster basically burned up on entry, but the car is about to make impact. Stand by for that. Yes, the car mostly destroyed, but this is the nose section, and this is also the area that the front wheels would be mounted to. The cross members there. And a portion of the front wing has survived, as has the main reaction wheel. So technically speaking, this is still an operational spacecraft. And you can even see that we have pitch control on the front wing there. So still technically a living spacecraft at the moment. So it, more or less, survived re-entry. Very, very cool. Anyway, that is the sequel to the live stream. We managed to put the car into space, and we brought it back in a recognizable chunk of material. So, mission success. Elon Musk, though, next week when he does fly Falcon Heavy on its first flight with his personal Tesla Roadster on board, we're hoping that the Tesla never comes back to Earth. He wants to set it on a trajectory that'll take it across a Mars flyby, and then it will remain in solar orbit probably for eons until the sun ceases to exist. Unless it happens to hit some sort of debris out there. We'll be watching that. Until next time, though, thank you all very, very much for watching. FerrariMan601 saying thanks, and we will see you soon.